Hi, scholars. Happy Wednesday. Today we're going to be moving on with A Midsummer Night's Dream. We're going to be doing Act 3, Scene 2. So click below in the description so you can get a copy of our reader open and follow along when I read along with you guys later. We're going to go over some motivation changes, a Shakespearean insult, and then some quote analysis towards the end. So make sure you have your reader open to follow along. Your Shakespearean insult of the day is from King Henry IV, Part 1. This play is so big, there's actually two separate plays of it, Part 1 and Part 2. It's from Act 2, Scene 4. Away, you starveling, you elf-skin, you dried neat's tongue, bull's pizzle, you stockfish, you tailor's yard, you sheath, you bowcase, you vile standing tuck. My favorite part of the insult was calling someone bull's pizzle, because it's basically just urine, so they were saying they smell like bull pee. Our objective for our new scene today: I can continue to organize character motives as the play moves towards its climax. So I don't have a ton left, but character motivations are going to be changing again. So we're going to bust out our motivation chart and we're going to continue to track and follow along with them. So now we're going to be reading the summary of Act 3, Scene 2. So you should have your reader open on another phone beside you or on another tab with the video. That way you can follow along. I'm going to be reading it with pauses. That way you guys can follow along with me. So at the top of page 80, we begin. As the scene begins, Puck returns after putting the love juice into Titania's eyes. Oberon says, "How now, mad spirit?" Oberon asks Puck if Titania has fallen in love with the first creature she saw. Puck says, "My mistress with a monster is in love. He's confirmed the two are in love." He explains he saw a bunch of guys trying to act out a scene for a play, and he magically transformed the biggest ham in the group into a donkey. He's not saying Bottom is a giant piece of walking ham. Back then, if you called someone a ham, it's because they were silly. So he transformed the silliest guy into a donkey. He says, a butts knoll I fixed on his head. So if you look on our right side at our vocab, we have knoll is another word for a head. You won't really hear it nowadays, but he's just telling us where he fixed the donkey's head, where his head used to be. Oberon is pleased with this news. Suddenly, Demetrius and Hermia enter the scene, and Oberon asks Puck if he's also put the juice into the young Athenian's eyes. Oberon says, "Stand close. This is the same Athenian." Puck looks puzzled and says, "This is the man, but not this is the woman, but not this the man." They watch as Hermia and Demetrius argue. Because of the love juice that Puck put in his eyes, Demetrius is now in love with Hermia. Demetrius says, "Oh, why rebuke you him that loves you so?" Hermia thinks that he has killed Lysander, so Hermia woke up in the forest alone. We know Lysander ran off after Helena. Hermia is kind of worried that this guy stalking him might be the one who killed Lysander, and that's why she can't find him. She says, "Why would he have stolen away from sleeping Hermia? Why would he leave me asleep?" She's also frustrated that Demetrius is stalking her, so she says, "Out, dog! Out, cur! Thou drivest me past the bounds of maiden's patience." She's running out of patience. She's getting real sick of it. She calls him a cur, and if you look at our vocab on the other side, a cur is a mean dog. So she's calling him like a little dog that's following him around. She runs away further into the woods. Demetrius is exhausted after chasing Hermia, so he lies down and falls asleep. Oberon yells at Puck and tells him to go find Helena and bring her back. Puck says, I go, look how I go, I'm getting out of here, I'm listening." Oberon then puts the juice into Demetrius' eyes and says, "I charm his eyes against she do appear." Puck returns and says that Helena is on her way. He says, "Shall we thereupon pageant see, Lord? What fools these mortals be." Puck is saying, look at this pageant, look at this giant show that we all can laugh at these dumb mortals. When in reality, it was the king of the fairies, Oberon, and Puck who screwed most of this up in the first place. They made it much worse. Enter Lysander and Helena. Remember that Puck gave the love juice to Lysander by mistake, and now he is madly in love with Helena. So Lysander used to love Hermia, now he loves Helena. Lysander swears he loves Helena, to which Helena says, "O devilish holy fray, these vows are Hermia's." Lysander explains that he no longer loves Hermia. If we look on our vocab, we see affray is confusion. She's saying like, oh, this confusion, it's obnoxious. These vows are for Hermia. A vow is like a promise. People exchange vows at weddings. Lysander's probably giving all these vows to Helena right now. He's like, oh, I'll stay with you forever. I'll love you. I'll protect you. Helena's saying like, all these vows and promises are meant for that other girl. Leave me alone. Lysander says, I had no judgment when to her I swore. He said, I'm not thinking straight. I wasn't thinking straight when I was going to get married to Hermia. That was crazy. I wasn't right in the head. Demetrius wakes up, sees Helena, and immediately falls in love with her. Demetrius says, and this is gross, oh, how ripe and show thy lips. Those kissing cherries tempting grow. He wakes up, instantly falls in love with Helena. So now both men are in love with Helena. And he looks at her lips and he's like, oh, look at those beautiful cherries. I want to kiss them so badly. And even more romantically, he says, oh, let me kiss this princess of pure white, this seal of bliss. She thinks Lysander and Demetrius are making fun of her, and she yells at both of them. Helena says, oh, spite, oh, hell, I see you all are bent to set against me for your merriment. She thinks both of them are still playing tricks on her. She reminds them that they both still love Hermia, and she says, you both are rivals and love Hermia, and now both rivals to mock Helena. Demetrius tells her that he no longer loves Hermia, and now both Demetrius tells her that he no longer loves Hermia, and then Demetrius tells Lysander, Lysander, keep thy Hermia. I will none. If ere I loved her, all that love is gone. Demetrius is saying, I'm totally over Hermia. If I ever did love her, it's gone now. You can have her. I'm done. Suddenly, Hermia enters, sees Lysander, and asks him why he left. She's still confused about that. She says, why unkindly did thou leave me so? She wants to know, were you so mean and just abandoned me? He tells her he is now in love with Helena and says, the hate I bear thee made me leave thee so. She can't believe this. She tries to hug him and he says, hang off, thou cat, thou burr, vile thing. Let loose or I'll shake thee from me like a serpent. He's saying that you're some gross, vile serpent. Get off me, Hermia, or otherwise I'll shake you off like you're some gross snake. Then he adds, be certain, nothing truer. 'Tis no jest that I do hate thee and love Helena. I'm not playing around. This isn't a joke. I do hate you and I do love her. There's nothing else. Hermia thinks that her old pal Helena has been sneaky and gotten Lysander to fall in love with her. Hermia turns to Helena and says, you juggler, you canker blossom, you thief of love. So Hermia is very upset at Helena. She thinks her friend betrayed her and stole both men's love. Helena makes fun of Hermia and calls her a puppet and little. Helena isn't going to sit there and get insulted. She's the one getting jokes played on her by these two men, and now Hermia is being mean to her. She didn't do anything. So Helena calls her a puppet, and she calls her little like short. Like, you're short. I don't listen to you. Lysander joins in and says to Hermia, get you gone, you dwarf, you bead, you acorn. Get out of here, you dwarf, you acorn. No one wants to listen to you. Demetrius and Lysander continue to fight over Helena. Demetrius says to Helena, I say, I love thee more than he can do. The two men leave to go fight somewhere, so they both agree to walk off and probably have some duel for their love. Helena and Hermia continue to fight. Helena has had enough. She's tired of the men making fun of her and Hermia being rude. And she says, I will not trust you, nor longer stay in your cursed company. She runs away and is chased by an angry Hermia. Oberon yells at Puck for making such a mess of things. Everything's ruined. He tells Puck to create a fog and get all the lovers to fall asleep in the same place. Then Oberon says he has a different flower that will undo the love juice. So he tells Puck, flipping to page 94, crush this herb into Lysander's eye. Oberon's plan is for all the lovers to wake up at the same time, and then each man will fall in love with the right woman. Oberon says, when thy next wake, all this shall seem a dream. So Oberon's saying you're all going to fall asleep, and when they want to wake up, everything's going to be fixed, and they're all going to stop arguing. Puck creates a fog, brings them all together, puts them to sleep, and puts the new herb in Lysander's eyes. Puck leaves them sleeping, and then Puck leaves saying this, Jack shall have Jill, naught shall go ill, and all shall be well. So everyone's going to fall in love with the right person. No one's going to be angry. Everyone's going to be happy. This is going to have a happy ending. So he wants everything to be fixed. He's tired of all the arguing and mistakes. Next, we're going to look at some motivations because we know a lot of characters kind of flip-flopped around this section, especially Demetrius, and it's caused a lot of fighting. Our first set of character motivations. Hermia is now incredibly angry with Demetrius and Lysander because she thinks both of them are playing a trick on probably her as well by falling in love with Helena, especially angry with Lysander because he's now left her for Helena. Lysander's motivation is the same as before. He loves Helena because of the love and idleness juice in his eyes. And then Aegeus, Hermia's father, we have not seen him since the beginning. His motivation has not changed as of yet, but there's still time. Next up, we have Peter Quince. He wants Bottom to return to normal. Anyone putting on a play that's supposed to be performed for the Duke would probably want their star actor to look like a human instead of a donkey. So a big motivation is for his friend and star actor to go back to normal. Nick Bottom, of course, wants to turn back to normal himself. If any of us return to a donkey, the first thing we'd want is to reverse it and go back to normal. Lastly, Titania, oh Titania. In the last scene, she woke up after having the juice put in her eyes, and she heard that beautiful, beautiful singing voice where she now just loves Bottom. She loves Bottom, big fan of Bottom. Next up, we have Oberon and Puck. The fairy doesn't have one. We haven't seen the fairy since their first appearance. Oberon wants Puck to fix his mistakes. He said, we realize what a big problem this is. Everyone's now all mixed up. Everyone's flip-flopped. It's a big headache. He wants Puck to fix his mistake. Puck wants to give Demetrius the love juice because that was Oberon's instruction to him at the beginning of the scene. He's saying, no, that was the wrong Athenian. You weren't supposed to give it to Lysander. You're supposed to give it to Demetrius. So Puck flies away with a new motivation of giving Demetrius the love juice to make up for his original mistake. For the love of language, we're going to be talking about one of our quotes. We have Hermia, why, unkindly, didst thou leave me so? Lysander replies, the hate I bear thee made me leave thee so. Be certain, nothing truer. 'Tis no just that, I do hate thee and love Helena. Hermia replies, you juggler, you canker blossom, you thief of love. So, first, get out a piece of paper. We can number this 1 through 4, just like we would in our packets. It's pretty short. Number 1, look at your speaker tags. Who is speaking? Who is this conversation between? Number 2, what are they talking about? What are they speaking about? What's the tone? What is this about in general words? You can describe this as, this quote is about. And 3, try and find 3 words here that you think we need to understand and we need to know in order to understand the text. So these could be 3 words you don't know, 3 words that confuse you, words that you might want to bring attention to before we talk about it some more. And lastly, 4, I want you to rewrite the quote in your own words. So think of this as almost 2 people talking to each other now, or if 2 people texted each other, how could you change that into normal English that anyone would understand even if they weren't reading our play? Take a moment and pause, fill out 1 through 4, and we'll go over it in a moment. Looking at some of our answers now. The first one should be easy. Who's speaking? Looking at our speaker tags, we know it's Hermia and Lysander, 2 characters. To whom are they, to what are they speaking about? They're talking about why did Lysander leave her? She wants to know, why did you abandon me in the first place? That's what starts their conversation, but it takes a kind of rough turn. What words do we need to know in order to understand the text? Here's 3 I picked. The first is didst, which is Elizabethan, Shakespearean. It's an old phrasing of the word did. Why didst thou leave me? A juggler, don't think of a juggler like someone who tosses around with 3 apples. Think of a juggler as like a trickster, someone who plays tricks and messes with people. She's calling him a juggler as an insult. And lastly, a canker. It's like a sore. Think of like a cold sore on someone's lip. She's calling him a cold sore. It's like calling someone a pimple. It's like a really gross thing that you don't want to be called. Lastly, if you rewrite this in your own words, it can become across as very short. Helena might say, why did you leave me like that? It was so rude. She wants to know, why did he leave her? Lysander, remember, he's kind of brainwashed by this magic. He doesn't have a good explanation for it. Because I hate you and love Helena. It's as simple as that. He's not really thinking straight. She calls him a trickster and a thief of love, a thief of heart. Lastly, for tomorrow, we're going to read the Act 3, Scene 2 script. So I want you to keep an eye on the YouTube channel for tomorrow. I'm going to put up an amplified video like the scenes we've been watching in class. It's on page 96, so you'll be able to follow along. You get to see some really good moments, like when Hermia starts screaming at everyone else. She totally loses her cool. Next, I want you to continue to show some wonder and record some awesome performances from the play to send to me. So I've already had 3 scholars help me out, but just pick any act or scene. It could be long or short, but just send me a video clip of you reading something aloud from our play. That way I can put together a little montage of everyone reading at once, because I know we're not able to read together all at once like this. Lastly, continue with your daily reading log. You should still be reading around 30 minutes a day. I know a lot of you may be doing that because you're bored even at this point. I know Mr. Sheehan is. And also be sure to include iReady in your daily routine. So if you have access to a computer and can do iReady, all of your advisors should have sent you your login password. So you should be able to get on iReady and at least complete 1 lesson a day. Teachers are still checking. We're still looking to see who's completing them, who's passing, and we're still giving out Grow Our Team points just like we would in Morning Culture Time. So in the meantime, I will see you guys for a video on Friday as we break down our next scene, but keep an eye out tomorrow for our reenactment of Act 3, Scene 2. Stay safe and give me a phone call if you guys or your parents need me. Bye-bye.